Alright, what's up guys? Okay, so I know that it has been a hot minute since I actually put something up on my YouTube, but I thought now is like the perfect time, even though it's night and the lighting is terrible. Like, so much has happened. For those of you that follow me on Instagram, y'all know that I went through some hard stuff. Joel and I have split up. My ring is off. I have dreadlocks now. Yeah, life's been absolutely insane, but it's been for the best, honestly. It's been so good. So I took a couple videos right after I got out of the hospital. Basically super real, super raw, so unlike anything that I've ever done before. But I will put those in here because I want you guys to really see like the raw emotion, and I haven't even really rewatched them yet, so it'll be interesting to see. So here they are. So I went manic, and I don't really know, like I said, I don't know what happened that night. I didn't go to the hospital, and it's a combination of the fact that I was begging them not to take me to the hospital, which isn't an excuse, and them being so traumatized and not knowing what to do in that situation. I was just blackout, like if someone was blackout drunk, and I was puking it all up. My throat became so blistered within 24 hours that I actually had to wear an oxygen mask when I got to the hospital when I slept because my oxygen levels would drop so far. Regardless, I implore anyone, this is one of the big learning moments, I implore anyone who ever is in a situation where you see, if you're ever in a situation where you see anyone who is taking an absurd amount of pills, or anyone even talks about or says they're going to hurt themselves, you need to call 911. It's a huge, huge takeaway, because I wouldn't have been in the situation that I was had I gone to the hospital that night. But that's beside the point. I went the whole next day sleeping. I barely woke up. The only time I woke up was to throw up, and I couldn't keep any fluids in me. If I drank something, I would immediately throw it up, and I couldn't eat at all. So 2:30 rolls around in the morning. Thursday morning, and I text my parents and I say I need to go to the hospital because something's not okay. Like I'm really, really sick and I can't deal with this anymore. And I told them what happened. And so I grab all the pills, and they come and drive, and they grab me in their car and take me to the hospital, and I can still barely walk, talk, do anything. It takes me like a minute to be able to recite my name and birthday, like a full minute. I just wasn't there. Still. And I got there, and I spent 10 hours in the ER, and then they switched me up to the PCU at St. Charles. And I was really fortunate to have such an amazing care team. Throughout my entire stay there for 5 days, I got really, really fortunate. But I got an antidote. However, because I waited 24 hours, I put myself at risk of liver failure. And if that were to happen, I would have needed a liver transplant. But if I hadn't have gone to the hospital at all, if I hadn't texted my parents that night, I would be dead right now. I wouldn't have made it through because I wouldn't have got the liver transplant that I needed, and I would have died from it. And I had to go through 2.5 treatments. I went through, they would give you like an IV drip, and it was a pretty big bag. In the first round, they're all the same size bag with the same amount of fluid in them. The first round you do an hour and a half drip infusion because they just need to overload your system. The second one they do 4 hours, and then after that I think I went through 4 or 5 bags, each one lasting 16 hours after that. And so for I think it was a total of 101 hours, I was hooked up to an IV drip in a pole, which was, in some cases, some people have it so much worse, but it was really, really hard, and I couldn't breathe, I couldn't talk. My chest and my throat and my stomach were on fire, and everything was just hurting. My whole body just felt like it was giving up on me. And then I started feeling better. The next day, that day, once they overloaded my system and they brought me up to the PCU unit, which is the progressive care unit, I started feeling better, and they did my liver enzyme levels, and they were pretty high. They were definitely in the danger zone, which is anything over 1,000. And there's ALT and AST, but they do similar functions. And so I'll just give you the numbers that were the highest, because they were both way over what they needed to be. So the highest number really drives home the point. Anyway, so my liver enzymes were at I want to say 2,000, which is really, really high, because 1,000 was the danger zone. And then they were testing my enzyme levels every 12 hours, and my second test came back, and I, had started feeling better, but that morning, they would test me at 3 or 4 p.m. and then again at 3 or 4 a.m. And around 3 a.m. I started feeling really sick again, and my liver enzyme levels went up to 5,000. And at that point, OHSU was on the phone with my doctor. Poison control had been with me since the start when I first got into the hospital, because I had taken so much. But they were really, really, really concerned that I was going to need a liver transplant, and so they were ready to send me up in a helicopter all the way to Portland and make sure I was okay. Because at St. Charles here in Bend, they couldn't do a liver transplant, and my whole family was offering up parts of their liver to make sure that I was okay, and offering to get tested if I needed to, which was amazing. The support I had was just unreal, but it was really, really scary, especially when I first got to the ER. The NOC shift, the night shift staff, the doctor that was there right before they traded shifts with the day shift people, I asked her what's going to happen if, this treatment doesn't work, because they didn't know at that point if it was going to. They weren't super optimistic at that point, because my liver levels were just so high. And she goes, well, if this doesn't work, then you go for a liver transplant, and if that doesn't work, then that's it. And to know that there was a chance I could die was just so much, because when my social worker came in, the minute I even took those pills, I knew I regretted it. I didn't want to die. It was something that switched in my brain, and I was just so unhappy, and I didn't realize it. All this pent-up frustration and anger and depression and whatever else, all of a sudden came out, and I went manic, and then I immediately regretted it and had zero control over the outcome after that. So anyway, I get up to the PCU that day, and they test me again. I think it was Friday morning, so my 3 a.m. test, and I went up to, my liver enzyme levels went up to 7,000. And at that point, they were ready to send me to OHSU, and OHSU was saying, they're testing me, they're watching for if I develop any confusion, if I start developing jaundice, if I'm, just showing that my liver is shutting down and failing. And I was so freaking lucky that nothing happened to me. That was long lasting, that I would need a liver transplant. I got so lucky, because had I had any symptoms, I would be in Portland, and I probably would have a liver transplant right now. But I was one of the lucky ones, and I was still functioning the way that I should. My liver enzyme levels were just through the roof. And finally, after that 7,000 test, my liver enzymes started dropping, and it was the biggest relief. Everyone was just so happy, and every test after that just became, are they going to keep dropping? Are they going to keep dropping? How fast are they dropping? and am I going to develop anything later on, and then also thinking about, am I going to have any long-term, like permanent damage, am I going to have to get a liver transplant down the road if anything else happens to me ever with anything, or is it just going to fail later down the road, and it became a waiting, the whole time it was a waiting game, but it really became just exhausting and frustrating and so tense, because I was waiting to just see, I knew I was going to be okay, but I didn't know if I was going to be like okay. And then I found out that my liver enzyme levels were trending down 100%, and they did never go back up. And when I left the hospital today, my liver enzymes were my highest one of them, so there's two different types. There's the ALT and AST, like I said before. My higher one was the ALT, which they were okay with it not dropping as fast as the AST, I believe. I might have that backwards, but I think it was the ALT was at 3100, which is still really high in the danger zone. But my AST, which is the one that they had to get under 1,000 to be able to release me, is now at 300. So they're really optimistic that I'm not going to have any permanent damage long term, and that I'm not going to have any complications necessarily down the road, and I'll just have to wait and see. But I'm so incredibly fortunate to be able to be where I am and be able to tell you guys about this and try to raise awareness and be as upfront and honest about this as I possibly can be. But it's now I'm in the position where I'm having to relearn how to take care of myself. I don't have a routine. I didn't bathe. I wouldn't really brush my teeth. I wasn't eating properly. I was just not okay. And in those 5 days, I dropped about 12 pounds. And recording this video, I can definitely tell in my face that I definitely lost a little bit of weight. And I'm still healthy. Like, I'm still a healthy weight. I'm fine. But it's just crazy to me what my body went through. And it's amazing to me. I've never experienced PTSD in my life. But the first time my potassium, my electrolyte levels were dropping, and they couldn't get them up without supplements. And so the heart rate and the rhythm was fluctuating irregularly, and so they had to get it to start functioning properly, and my potassium levels were just so low, they could not get them up. And so they gave me 4 potassium pills, and the minute they handed me those pills, I broke down in tears, and I had to force myself to take them. It was insane. Like, the thought of even taking pills, I get nauseous now. It's amazing to me how much I scarred myself, emotionally, physically, everything from that. And now I'm having to go to counseling. I start counseling this week. I have to go to a nutritionist for, figuring out how to best feed my liver. I also need someone just to figure out how to help me with my IBS, which, for those of you guys that know me, know that I have chronic IBS-U, which sucks. Then also how to get over an eating disorder. And that also goes hand in hand with my counseling. And then I also have to start getting tested, my liver enzymes tested regularly for at least a couple months to make sure that they continue to drop and that no long-lasting damage is done. So it's definitely a learning curve, and it's really hard because I told my social worker when I got in there, because I went in as a suicide patient, and so there's certain precautions that they take with people that come in like that. I told her, I said, I'm here as a suicide patient, but that's not who I am. It's not what I am. I didn't want to die. I never thought about it. I never intended to do that. It was just this freak episode I can't explain, but because it happened, I know that there's something wrong, and I know I have to acknowledge it and heal myself and retrain myself how to take care of me and put myself first, because I wasn't doing that. And so I'm losing my train of thought, but it's amazing how fortunate I am, how lucky I am, but how far I have to come now. Okay, so as you can see, like, the hospital took a really big toll on me. Like, that was huge, and that was before Joel and I had split up. So I took all those videos beforehand, like literally I think it was like the day or two after I got out of the hospital. It was crazy. So I was living with my mom in the very beginning, and then I went back to living at the apartment, just because this house, my mom's house, was only supposed to be like kind of like a halfway house thing, just like a transitional period kind of a thing, until I went back, just because I wasn't sure I was able to take care of myself yet, all that good stuff. So I went back to live with Joel, and his twin brother Tyler was living there as well at the time, which wasn't ideal because Tyler and I didn't really ever get along, but it is what it is. And there was a whole thing behind that, with his mom kicking him out and then telling me that I was a bad person. I can put all the screenshots right here. You can pause and read them if you want to, but obviously they are insane. So as you can see, like, life was literally insane, and that was a week. We got all the screenshots a week before Tyler moved in with us, and that's like, it was just insane. Or I'm sorry, I got them a week before I went to the hospital. So like a week before I went to the hospital, that's what had happened. Anyway, so I went back, and Joel and his family had always had a drinking problem, I guess, and it's something that he and I had been working on for a really long time, and he knew how much it affected me and how much I hated it, and also the fact that I was in recovery and I knew I was being super difficult, but like I needed him to be there for me and like really help me out. But he ended up going, he and his brother went out and went drinking one night, and they came back at like 3 in the morning and went insane. Joel did his thing. I ended up having to call the cops on him. He basically took the ring and said goodbye, and he does that like every time that he got drunk. So I was kind of like not 100% sure what was happening, but then the next day, like, he left that night to go see his parents, and then anyway, the next morning I woke up and I was like, I texted my mom, I'm like, I need help, can you please come get me? And so she came and got me. And that day, Joel's twin, Tyler, he's like texting me saying he needs to get in the apartment. I'm the only one with keys, and he's like threatening me and my mom and my family, and it was insane. And so I told him, like, we gotta go, we gotta get everything out of the apartment now. And because I owned basically everything, I had spent thousands of dollars on it, and Joel just kind of came in and was expecting me to do all that. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna take everything that I own before they can go and take it or ruin it or whatever. So we went in there, and it was me, my mom, my dad, and my grandpa, and I, and we had the cops on standby, and we were just running and trying to get stuff out as fast as we could, and it was crazy. But anyway, luckily there weren't too many more problems with like getting in contact with each other. For the next couple weeks I had a bunch of people from Joel's family and his friends that were like reaching out to me on social media, telling me what a horrible person I was, how just like awful it was just crazy. And I was like, y'all don't even know half the story, but okay. So anyway, I could go into more detail, but it's really just not worth it, and I don't want to like disclose too much of anyone's personal information. Anyway, but as you guys can see, it's much better. I got out and I didn't realize how abusive the relationship I was in was, and now that I'm out, I'm like I'm able to go see people. I'm allowed to go see people. I'm allowed to like go do things with my hair or with my nails that I wouldn't normally be allowed to do. I'm allowed to buy clothes for myself that I don't have to get it okayed first. I can go on trips. That's huge. Yeah, like just so many things. Like I had no idea I didn't ever realize like how bad it was, but the minute I left, my mental got so much better. My ability to actually go out and do things and talk to people was a million times better. It was really interesting to see kind of like the switch almost automatically that happened. And Anyway, yeah, it was crazy. It was so crazy to think about, but I'm so much happier now. And a lot of people will probably think I'm crazy for saying this, but I'm gonna go into like the relationship side of things, like new relationships, because I'm sure a lot of people would probably be wondering, like, well, you know, if you're in an abusive relationship, you guys were engaged though, like what the whole deal is, like what's the deal with that? So basically, I've kind of felt like the relationship has been over for like a year and a half already, which is stupid because we were engaged within that time. But anyway, so the first 6 months of us dating were really good. And then after that, we kind of just became so solid. We're like, this is just like a secure, like we have said that we're going to get married and that this is our life. And that was just kind of that. And it was almost like a security safety thing. Just like not having that unknown, which was really comforting for both of us. Anyway, but I just kind of felt like it wasn't like the spark wasn't there anymore. Like the relationship just wasn't great. So as far as like moving on goes, I mean, I didn't really take much time to like just start talking to other people, especially because I'm in a point in my life where like I just got out of an abusive relationship. I wanted to like fully close that door, as well as like I just needed to like talk to people. And with COVID and my friends being in college, there's not many people that you can talk to, so I was like, why not just get on some dating apps, because that's just kind of the times that we're in. And I started talking to people and I went on a couple dates within like the first, like within a week of breaking up with Joel, which sounds crazy, but that's just what happened. I don't know. That's just what happened. It seems really fast, but I was talking to like a bunch of my medical care team, and they're all like, you know, as long as you feel safe and you feel good, we fully support that. And I made sure like I okayed like even like the relationship side of things with medical professionals ahead of time, because I know that my mental isn't exactly where I want it to be. But I had a pretty overwhelmingly positive response to it, so that was really good. But I ended up getting in contact with someone that I have known for like the last 3 years. We're really good friends, and he and I kind of hit it off, which is great. Not saying anything about that, but like, I don't know, it's just nice to know that, you know, I can attract people that aren't as negative as the relationship that I was in. I kind of fell into that, unfortunately. And yeah, and actually, like, this video is gonna be so long, but I can kind of like speak to like why I was in the relationship with Joel, like what kind of started it, and like why did I jump in so fast, and like what, I don't know. So basically this just happened as well. So I've been in a court case with one of my old bosses who sexually assaulted me, and right after I got out of the hospital, he got sent to 30 days of jail, which is fantastic because I was a minor and he was in his 20s, and so he is done. That's really exciting. He just kind of like a little scare tactic, like get him in jail for 30 days. Hopefully he fixes up his act and then he has like 3 years of parole. But it made me so happy to know that like things are getting done, everything's looking up. But basically when he sexually assaulted me is when I met Joel, and so it was kind of that like feeling that like, oh my god, this just happened, I need someone here right now kind of a role. And so that was Joel. And I did it subconsciously. I didn't really know I was doing that, but now I'm kind of in the place where I'm like, I don't want to have that happen again. So I'm taking everything very slow, and like I'm not putting pressure on anything, which is fantastic. But yeah, that's kind of why Joel and I progressed so fast so quickly, is because I was just like needing someone there and he was there. And one thing that I kind of came to realize, which was so sad to like actually realize, like right after we broke up, I told my mom, because I'm renting from her now, I'm renting a studio from her. I said, I think I was more in love with the idea of the future than I was with Joel. Because when we broke up, I really wasn't that upset about it. I cried over the fact that I wasn't getting married and I wasn't going to be able to have kids as soon, and life was going to change and I had to rethink what I was going to be doing. But that's not why I should have been crying. Like, I should have been crying because I just lost the love of my life, and that so did not happen. Like, I had no problem with that. I was like, bye bitch, like we're good, we're done.
That's just so messed up. It's just so messed up. Yeah. So now I'm just in a better place now. Now that I'm out of that, I'm out of another abusive relationship, not my first one. First, like, really, really bad one, but I've been in situations that were bad before, which you'd think you'd learn, but it's just difficult. But anyway, so that's my life now, and I'm hoping to keep you guys updated on more trips. I just got done with a photo shoot from the coast, and I didn't vlog that, but I think I'm going to be going to Hood River, not this weekend but the next weekend, so hopefully I set that up as well, and I'll try to vlog that. And I want to just kind of like keep you guys posted with like life right now, and keeping you guys updated on like how everything's going with like the relationship and mental health and everything like that, because it's so important. And then I don't know what else to vlog about, but I love talking and being able to have like a video journal of everything, so y'all can be my support, and maybe I'll bring you on some photo shoots or something. I don't know, it'll be fun. Thanks guys, bye.